Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast episode. Really appreciate it, man. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. I'm super excited to learn more about you and your journey, how you built your business. So before we do that, I'd love to know more about your childhood. If you can share a few things about growing up, how is it like? Are you always been extroverted or introverted? And how did you come up in the business world?
Yeah, so this is, and it's funny you asked this. I just thought about this the other day in my journey. And, you hear a lot of entrepreneurs say, oh, I was always an entrepreneur. I was selling pencils in classrooms and things like that. And,
Yeah.
I never really had those memories. My memories were always living in my imagination, basically. I
Mm.
grew up always just going outside exploring, pretending I was Indiana Jones or James Bond or a policeman or a fireman, and just having these just experiences and just enjoying life and everything. But I was always pretty extroverted.
Mm.
Um, Although in middle school I did have a stint where I became super introverted. I don't know what happened. I still haven't figured it out, but there's a stint where I would not talk in front of the class. I would not interact like I did would do now. Like it was just a weird kind of year, I guess, for me. And then finally broke through. And then I was in drama club. So I was on
Mm.
stage talking and then choir. And it was just that weird like part in life. But yeah, always it's always super extroverted, loving to get to know people and hear their stories and meet new people and their cultures. And it's always been a part of me and just what I've enjoyed. So yeah, just kind of a fun upbringing, I guess.
So when did you discover a business world? Did you do a prior to that, a employee for someone else, like working for someone else, or you did your own thing after college or
Yeah.
university?
Yeah, I went to college and got my bachelor's in athletic training.
Hmm.
So basically working with sports teams, helping keep them healthy or get them back healthy. And then I went on and got my master's in health and human performance. And, I was just kind of working in that field. I was working as an athletic trainer and moved into the industrial setting where I worked with factory workers, helping them stay healthier, get healthier.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed helping people and making a difference with their health. But there was a moment where in my family, my wife's family, we both lost a lot of loved ones in a short amount of time. And it got to the point actually where, and this is no fault to them, or it's just kind of how it's built, but the business I worked for, the company I worked for, was like, hey, you have used all your bereavement time, all your holidays, all your sick days.
Yeah.
Like you don't have anything left. So if you either can't go and spend time with your family who needs you,
Mm.
or it'll have to be unpaid time off. And it was, and I'd been in a stint of personal development,
Yeah.
personal growth, listening to podcasts, seeing the possibilities out there of building your own business. But with that moment in my journey working for that company and that happening, it just kind of clicked. And in my mind, I said, my time is my time and it's worth a lot more than what I can get paid doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And life's too short. So I know I can do something bigger and build something on my own that I have more control of my time and be able to not have a ceiling. And so that kind of started the ball rolling. And then, I think it was 6 months later, I quit my job to build a business.
Yeah. And is that your first business? Like you currently
Yeah,
have?
it was my
Okay.
first real go at it. And of course I chose, right when the pandemic hit to quit.
Mm.
And I didn't have any clue what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. So I had no money coming
Yeah.
in. Um, yeah, just kind of leap of faith, burned the boats and went at it full force.
Yeah. How has the decision been made? Did you discuss with your wife, or you just gone all in? Like one day decided, no, I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, it was funny because I don't know if you or your audience knows Bob Proctor, late
Yeah.
Bob Proctor. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, and
Yeah.
so he's talks all about frequency and vibrations and energy and things like that. And I actually went to Toronto
Mhm.
with some friends and heard him speak. And I was coming back from Toronto, and I got this. So faith is a big part of my life and things like that. And I just got this real clear, like, you need to quit your job and start a business.
Yeah.
And it was like driving back from Toronto. So it's, for me, it's like a 9-hour drive. And I called my wife and I said, hey, I just, this is what I think I need to do. I really believe I just heard, God say like that we need to do this. And she was not on board. She's very analytical and very, structured, and
Yeah.
that's great. And so I said, that's fine. Like I said, this is just what I've heard. I don't want it to be me. So we'll
Mm.
pray about it. And so that's what we did. And I said, if this is what you want, God, like she'll be on board, and that'll make it clear to me. And a couple months later, we were talking about it again. She said, I think you should do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, okay, here we go. And so I gave him 4 weeks. So I gave him 4 weeks notice. My company I worked for, 4 weeks notice. 2 weeks into that, pandemic hit. I got furloughed for the last 2 weeks, so I was already at home. And I was like, this is it. Here we go.
That's a God calling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then when you started working on your business, like a first month, how is it like? How's the journey like? You was anxious, stressed out, like self-doubt?
Oh, everything. No idea what I was gonna do. I knew I wanted to utilize my podcast going forward to help people. Like it was
Yeah.
that vague. And so like I don't recommend people jumping out of their business if they don't have a plan like I did. But um so it was really like I had an idea of what I wanted to do,
Mm.
and I was fighting against what I should do. And eventually I leaned into, that, and that's when things started changing.
Yeah. So like obviously you've been running it for quite a long time now. It's nearly 3 years, right? So
Yeah, I've been
yeah.
into the journey for 3 years. Elevate, my company,
Yeah.
now has been around just over a year.
Mm.
And that's the video podcast launch we do for people, and then the production side. And
Yeah.
that's what I was fighting against. I didn't want to do stuff in the podcast field when I started. I
Yeah.
wanted to use my podcast. Um, and I was just pushing all that away and not leaning into it. And when I realized like, hey, this is where my strength is, and this can really help people, and this is, something that people and brands are starting to use more and more, is video podcasting. When I leaned into that
Mm.
and started working that, it just kind of started rolling.
Yeah, that's great. So 3 years of your business, like how's like your first year like? So did you manage to pull through your salary, or like did you have to go through in a debt? How's like the journey?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the first year, yeah, we thankfully we had some savings saved up to ease some of that tension. And like I said, I was trying to figure it out. I was
Mm.
trying to figure it all out. I had no experience in it, never done it before. Just, hoping that, we'd be able to make some money from the business somehow. And we did make some money, hit and miss. And it was from podcasting stuff. It wasn't even with the business I was trying to grow. As people wanted
Right.
podcast advice or help. And so I just was like, yeah, I can do it. Let's do that.
Mm.
But it got to the point where savings was pretty much gone. And we're like, it was the end of 2000. So it was the end of 2021 that we were like, all right, the student debt payments have been paused for a while. Great. Our savings has kind of dwindled. Like, what's going to happen? Like, and I was like, I have to have something coming in
Yeah.
regularly, to keep going. And it's finally, it just, we talked, and I was like, okay, this podcasting stuff keeps coming up. Let me lean into this. I'm good at this stuff, the technical side. I've been through it. I know what I'm doing. And so I switched, and I switched from what I originally had, was trying to push
Mm.
a round peg in a square hole, and leaned into the podcasting stuff. And, within a month, had my first monthly client, reoccurring client, and it just kept growing from there, thankfully. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So like what would be advice or like a lesson you learned in the first year of running a business, you'll say?
Yeah.
Obviously, number
The
three,
biggest,
it'll be different, isn't it? Because
yeah,
now you learn new market and everything.
the first thing I'd recommend people do is figure out who they're going to help,
Mm.
and what those people actually want help with. Because I went at it like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to help people, and those people will come, instead of making it simpler and saying, okay, who do I want to help? What are their pain points? What are their needs?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what they're needing. Okay, I'm going to figure out, like, gain data and say, would this be a benefit to you? Would you find this helpful? Like actually talk to people. And when they say yes, like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Then you know what you can start pushing instead of wasting so much time trying to build everything
Yeah.
and trying so many different things. That's what I would recommend. Figure out who you're helping, how they need help, verify it with them, and then start pushing that one thing.
Yeah. So like a focus on like a one thing, like for yourself
Mhm.
and for your client perspective as well. And then
Mhm.
just keep doubling down on that for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah, so when you start business, did you take any kind of like a courses or any kind of help from any mentors, or like did you figure out everything on your own?
Oh no, yeah, I definitely got help. Had a lot of good mentors. Really dove into more podcasts about business growth, and from those who have the results.
Hmm.
And so I just kind of listened to them. I started implementing. Um, and for me, that's the easy part is, okay, this is what I need to do. I'm going to do it. It might not be perfect. It might be off a little bit, but we can readjust and improve as we go. And so, yeah, I had a couple business mentors that I leaned into, and then just, yeah, read a lot of books as you see behind me, if you can see
Yeah,
video. I got a lot of books behind me and just try to learn from all the people who are successful and then just implement and take action.
yeah. So like let's talk about your second year of business. So
Mm.
how's second year different than your first year been?
Yeah, more clarity, more it was a little bit simpler because I knew what I was gonna do. Like
Mm,
once I knew the podcasting stuff's what I wanted to do and that people needed it, the
yeah,
coaches needed what I had. Um, then it was just okay, we need to start now smoothing out the foundation and building that foundation better. Um, and was able to replace my salary for my job and then just work on scaling the business um, from there.
mm, yeah. So what are the mistakes you think like you have made alongside running the business?
Yeah, I would say, especially early on, like running to every different coach that might have the silver bullet for you to make things happen. Just
Mm,
find someone who's got the results that you want and that you're searching for, and just stick with them. Stick with what they're doing, and just stay consistent at one thing, the one offer, that one messaging. Like just keep it really lean and singular. It just
yeah,
keeps it simple for you. If you're trying to help everyone with everything, you're going to get overwhelmed, especially at the beginning when you're by yourself doing it all, and you're going to burn out like a lot of people do.
yeah. Definitely. So yeah, what would be like one advice for if anyone wants to start a business right now in 2023? Like what would be advice for you? How they can get started with any idea?
Yeah. If you have an idea, just again, go out and verify it. Who's the idea for? What's it going to help? And then just literally reach out to people. Say, hey, listen, the you're in the market that I'm trying to help with this. All I need to know from you, all I'm reaching out to do is find out if this is anything that's even needed within your
Mm,
market. I'm not selling anything. I'm not pushing anything. I literally just would like your feedback on my idea because you're in that market, and just do that. And once you have enough verification on that, then you can start saying, okay, this is what people want, and just start pushing that one thing. Just start
yeah.
marketing that one thing and get really good at it before you try to add anything else to it.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, for sharing that. So we are
Mhm.
coming to the end of this podcast. It's been a great pleasure having you. So those who's listening, if anyone wants to learn more about you, reach out to you or listen to your podcast. Where's the best place to find you all?
Yeah, elevate your brand with Chris Anderson, wherever you listen to podcasts. Also elevate your brand on YouTube if you want to watch the videos. And then you can connect with me on Instagram at chris.t.anderson. I'm always open for answering questions in the DMs and guiding how I can. So
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. So that's the wrap. So Chris, thank you so much for coming today. And yes, thanks for sharing your valuable lesson you learned over the last 3 years running your business. So I hope you have an amazing year this year and continue with your success. Thanks for coming today.
thanks. Appreciate it.
No problem. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you got some value from it or learned some few mistakes Chris made and how he overcame those, and also like a few advices given. So yeah, implement those and on your business and see how you can get success too. Until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.